Now let's have a question from one of our Patreon backers in But Your Emails. I really like this one because I hadn't thought about it before because it scares me. Jim Sinstadt, how would/should a Prime Minister Keir Starmer tackle a President Donald Trump?
Wow.
God forbid. Zoe,
Wouldn't be tackling.
you picked this question from the options. What do you think? I mean, obviously, it would be really bad if Donald Trump won in 2024. Like, just fucking awful. How does Starmer play that?
So it's interesting because the Shadow Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, was asked pretty much about this the other day. And he said, we have a special relationship with America, and whoever is in office, we will continue to have that special relationship with America.
Genius.
Oh, yeah. Foolproof, Lammy. Well done.
Just pull that card.
So it sounds like they are preparing for the potential of a Trump government, and that, I think, is the sensible thing to do. You know, we're seeing it a little bit at the minute with how Sunak is responding to China and Beijing with all these accusations of espionage in Westminster. What do you do with your enemies? What do you do with your, political enemies? How do you deal with them? Do you keep them in the tent? Do you try and keep them on side? And we do live in a world where we are just a tiny island, and we very much, I think a lot of the Tory right like to pretend we're, very powerful and still the great heydays of the empire, but we're not. And increasingly,
Talking Britain down again.
I'm sorry. We need to collaborate with especially these huge superpowers. And one of the things that Sunak has been trying so desperately to do is to get a trade deal with the US, because we left the EU saying, oh, look at all these great trade deals we're going to get. And still Biden is just kind of not playing ball. But we need that. And just like we need China, China economically gives us a lot. They import a lot. We export a lot to them. A big proportion of our students are from China. It's the sad fact is we do need to play nicely with these countries. And of course, there's an extent to which you have to put your hands up and you have to speak out about bad behaviour. But we're in a compromised position. We're not as powerful as we once were.
But what's weird, what's really interesting about the way that you frame that is that we're talking really about the change in leadership in America is such a huge thing because normally you wouldn't talk about America like you're talking about China or Russia, where there's a lot of continuity. It's literally
the
like
stakes are so high.
A Trump America is suddenly moves into that column from the kind of regular column. And that before, when Democrats and Republicans, handed over the reins, you didn't suddenly feel like you were dealing with like
a dictator.
A whole other thing. Like, how do we deal with this authoritarian?
I think that's where Lammy's response is actually true, in that a change of president does not move the whole of America into that column. There is still a body of, departments and civil servants and diplomats and state-level government, which will still behave in a rational fashion despite having this person on top. I mean, is the relationship even salvageable? Starmer is a centre-left prosecutor by trade. I mean, is that not Starmer's worst nightmare
dealing with a criminal
as a class of people?
He could be arrested touching down in the US, couldn't he?
Yeah.
We wouldn't put it past Trump to do that.
I think you deal with him the same way you would deal with any kind of creep. You are civil without encouraging further engagement. You only meet in public places and you never go to a secondary location.
I mean, Mike is not so much how he handles Trump, personally.
Yeah.
It's all the other problems that come up. Suddenly, disaster for Ukraine, if the war is still going on then. Disaster for the environment. So it's all these other things. I can't remember. I think, was it Andrew Marr who wrote just one of his depressing pieces? That's one of his lames, which is just like, think seriously about like what the world looks like in, the West Order under Trump Part 2. And it's suddenly like all these other problems that just are naturally going to occur where Britain suddenly doesn't have an ally and, you know.
I mean, there is a military strategy that sort of applies to when your opponent is very mercurial, that says the default is do nothing because, and I think that applies to Trump actually. If he comes out one day and says X outrageous thing, do nothing because the next day he's likely to say the opposite. And if you do something, you're likely to entrench him into X horrible thing. So just a quite a hands-off relationship.
I choose to believe that he's just not going to be re-elected.
No, he's not.
Yeah, good.
He's not.
For you,
That's all right then.
yeah, right?
Yeah. I mean, we had the Queen last time to sort of get him over here, and what have we got now? Well, Charles. He might be interested in meeting Charles.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It would all seem it would all seem kind of a little
He
bit
won't be-
pathetic, wouldn't it? Be King Charles meeting
I
a
don't
second
think- I
Trump.
don't
Yeah,
think
he's
Trump
sort of
will
done
get
that,
in.
hasn't he? He's got his picture.
I don't
in.
think. Shall I predict the American election?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we'll go down the bookies after.
Just quickly, just now. So I think the Democrats are waiting for the Republicans to throw everything behind Trump, preparing for a sort of Trump-Biden rematch. And I think the Democrats then will not put Biden forward as a candidate. I think,
No, that
I
will
think
be.
it will be Trump against someone else.
Wow.
And it will be a really bad mismatch, and the Republicans will lose very
Spicy.
badly.
Well,
There you go.
this is a whole other topic,
There you
isn't
go.
it? We should
Yeah.
do that one week.
Bish bash bosh.